everyone, please welcome to my channel. I am very happy to meet you at this time in my presentation. Hopefully this pandemic will pass soon and we will always be healthy. I would like to discuss taxonomy development and how to apply it in the classroom. First of all, I want to explain the meaning of taxonomy. Taxonomy according to Kamus Besar Bahasa Indonesia means classification of scientific files, the rules and principles covering object classification, and Bloom's taxonomy itself is a taxonomy for the education sector that was joined by Benjamin S. Bloom. This taxonomy aims to classify material or educational goals. Broadly speaking, educational goals are divided into three domains, each of which has its own subcategories. The three domains in education goals are cognitive domain, affective domain, psychomotor domain, and the cognitive domain contains behavior that emphasizes intellectual aspects such as knowledge, understanding, and thinking skill. In cognitive domain, there are 6 subcategories, namely knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Knowledge is the first level of cognitive domain. At this level, students are only required to be able to recall. For example, at this level is remembering formulas, knowing only basic knowledge without any need to know how to use them. Next, in the subcategory of comprehension, students have been able to understand something that is already known. Suppose students already know that the formula for electric current is voltage divided by resistance. At this level of understanding, students can explain in more detail while it is necessary to find the current by dividing the voltage across the resistance. Application states application is the ability to use the knowledge that has been learned in different situations. Suppose students already know that to find the current is to divide the voltage across the resistance, then at this application level students are able to apply this knowledge into the real design. At the level of analysis, students are be able to detail or describe a material into more detailed parts and are able to understand these detailed parts. And then synthesis is the integration of divided knowledge into the single whole. Suppose there is knowledge 1, which includes knowledge of 2 and 3. Educators provide information about knowledge of 2 and 3. Students combine the knowledge of 2 and 3 themselves so that students know how for themselves that knowledge of 2 and 3 if combined into knowledge 1. And at the evaluation stage, students are able to determine which knowledge will be used in certain situation. Next. Affective domain. For the affective domain, Bloom complied these subcategories of the affective domain with David Cradwell. The affective domain emphasizes feelings and emotion such as interest, attitude, appreciation, and adaptation. And in this affective realm, there are 5 subcategories, namely acceptance, response, and appreciation, and then organizing and characterization based on values. Acceptance is the sensitivity of learners in receiving stimuli or stimuli from outside. Acceptance can also be interpreted as the willingness to pay attention to an activity. At this stage, students are fostered so that the student can accept the value given by the educator. These values can be in the form of religious values, moral values, and the like. Yeah. And response. Um, this response has the meaning of active participation from students. Um, the ability to respond is the ability of students to actively participate in the discussion of certain phenomena that are being expressed by educator. And then appreciation, assessing or appreciation mean that the student have the ability to select the value taught the student. Student will not immediately accept the value taught to this student. If the values, if the value is not, if the value is not in accordance with the appropriate values or rules, the students will be able to say no to inappropriate values. Next, organizing. Students already have the ability to organize or bring together different values so as to form new universal values which bring goodness in general in the existing differences. And this organization includes the relationship between one values and another, as well as the order or priority of a value. And next, characterization based on these values refer more to a person's character. This category deals with personal, social, and emotional settings. At this stage, students already have a value system that regulates all of the student behavior over a long period of time, so that the students have their own characteristics which of course differ from one student to another. Next, psychomotor domain. The psychomotor domain places more emphasis on the abilities generated by human motor functions. Um, these subcategories of psychomotor domain was not created by Bloom but by Simpson, but still refers to the theory put forward by Bloom. There are six subcategories of the psychomotor domain, namely perception, readiness, guidedness response, mechanism, response loop, complex, adjustment, and creation. This perception means the use of the sense organs to hold onto a movement. For example, in soldering activities, if the soldering results are not neat, it will be repaired again. And next, readiness in the category includes mental and physical readiness to do something. Uh, this readiness will determine how to associate its sense or use. For example, a student who is sick is doing a soldering activity, then maybe the result of the soldering is not too good because the students' hands are shaking because of lack of physical readiness. You can also solder in a hurry. The result of the soldering will also not be good because of insufficient mental preparation. Next, guide, guided response is the initial stage in learning a complex skill. Trial and imitation fall into the category. Mechanism get used to the movement that have been learned so that they have a certain skills. Still with the example for soldering, a good soldering iron is usually the solder of students who have high soldering hours. And responses look complex. This seemingly complex response means that students have been able to carry out a stroke skill appropriately, smoothly, and efficiently. And adjustment. This adjustment is the ability of students to determine their skill in different situations. Suppose students have been able to carry out soldering activities quickly and the result are good. Then the students are assigned to teach their fellow students who are less able to solder. Then the proficient students have been able to adapt to the existing conditions and situations. Even though they can solder quickly, the proficient student will carry out the soldering motion slowly so that other students can imitate students who are already proficient. And then creation, create new movement pattern adapted to certain conditions. For example, in the example of soldering, when the object being soldered is less regular, the student soldering movement will be different from the regular soldering movement on of an object. And the end, I will conclude this topic. Um, Thus, it can be concluded the three domains, namely cognitive, affective, and psychomotor, cannot be separated in the learning process. Everything is very important to the develop in students. So, in facing the current era of competition, several competencies are needed that must be developed in learning, namely complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, people management, coordinating with others, emotional intelligence, system skill, service orientation, negotiation, and cognitive ability. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you, Mrs. Lailatul, and all friends for your attention. God bless you all, and bye. See you next time. Okay, thus it can be concluded that there are three domains, namely cognitive, affective, and psychomotor, cannot be separated in the learning process. Everything is very important to be developed in student. So, in facing the current era of competition, several competencies are needed to must be developed in learning, namely complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, people management, coordinating with others, emotional intelligence, system skills, service orientation, negotiation, and cognitive ability. I think that's all, and thank you for your attention, and see you next time. Bye.